if Sissy Stringer doesn't come back for a sequel, then it was obviously like stunt casting to put a black actress in that role, and that's just really frustrating.
We need a petition for Sissy. Hey y'all, hey! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Mathieu Miranda, and in today's episode, I have joined up with a few friends and fans of the Mortal Kombat franchise who have all seen the Mortal Kombat 2021 movie. If you are like me and a huge fan of the Mortal Kombat franchise,
you probably had some feelings after seeing this film.
We are going to discuss things that we loved, things that we did not love, missed opportunities. I'll ask each individual how they would rate this film and who they would like to see in a potential sequel. Without further ado, let me introduce you to the panel. Thomas, Quinn, Suzanne, Angela, Chris, Greg, Louie, George, aka Storm, Hane, Allie,
and of course your host with the most, me!
Sorry for that. I was here and I really need to be here. Well, hey y'all, hey, and welcome to our Mortal Kombat 2021 movie panel discussion. I had you do a survey before doing this panel, and I asked you to sort of rate your fandom on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being, I've never seen a Mortal Kombat movie, played a video game. 2 being, okay, I've heard of the movies, maybe I've played the game a few times, but that's about it. A 3 is, okay, I know Mortal Kombat, I know more than just Sub-Zero and Scorpion. If I saw Katana or Raiden or something like that, I could identify them. 4 is, I not only know Mortal Kombat, but they do every chance they can to make anything that starts with a C begin with a K. That's the level of detail. And then finally, a level 5 is that not only do I know that they spell things with a K, I know where Midway was formed, the year that it closed, I know every character. You can't stump me on trivia. Based on those ratings right now, I just want you to show by your finger, where do you rate yourselves? Okay.
I'll say a 3.
Yeah.
Oh wait, you're saying this isn't the Street Fighter 2 panel? I gotta go. Out of 4.
High for me.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, so we have quite a few 3s. I'm a 4. Angela is a 1. So I'm really excited. We have such a good mix of people to this franchise, which started off as a video game. Our focus is going to be on the movie. Straight away, I just want to talk about the opening scene, because that was a big part of the marketing. I know that they dropped the first, 7 minutes here in the States right as the movie was coming out. I know for me personally, I stayed away from watching it because I wanted to watch it fully in theaters for the first time with my friends. What did you think you were going to go into in the next hour and a half after those credits rolled? Talk to me about the opening. Let's start off with Quinn.
I think the biggest thing for me, aside from the cinematography, as someone who's watched a lot of movies that were video game based, like Street Fighter and all those things, I was just wowed by the fact that all the characters were Asian and actually played by Asian people. That sort of struck me instantly. But it also gave me backstory that I guess I didn't have going into the movie before. So that was what sort of set the great tone for me.
Allie, I was there with you. What was going through your mind?
Oh gosh, I think for me it definitely set up very high expectations. I think it matched the expectations I had coming into this film. And you have 2 very talented actors, Joe Taslim and Hiroyuki Sanada, and them working together in the roles that they played, Sub-Zero and Scorpion, they did fantastic. And so to move into other parts of the film, it was like, this isn't what I thought it would be.
Louie, what about you?
Opening has the strongest opening in any Mortal Kombat, like in general, especially for live action. And it did have a little flair with the lore, even though it not made the accurate lore of why Han Solo was really killed, but it did set up like the the rivalry between the Lin Kuei and the Shinju Ryu, which I expected, to see more throughout the film. But after that, it went, okay, Jordan, let's just get straight to the point.
Thomas, what about you?
I thought it was good. I don't think they should have let it go early, released it early, because that was probably like the best part of the whole movie was the opening, So you just like blew your shot early.
Storm, what did you think of it?
Being that I did watch those first 7 minutes, when I told myself I wouldn't do it, I did it anyway because I don't like to spoil myself. But I said, it's there, I'm going to do it. And I agree with everybody. The first 7 minutes, they set us up for this amazing, ride that we were going to, this roller coaster we were going to get. And I mean, I guess you could say I'm the Paul Abdul when it comes to movies. So I'm going to be like, oh, I loved it. And, but other than that, it was I agree. It was some things they kind of let us down from that 7 minutes. I'm like, oh, but then I was like, oh, this is going to make up for it. Yeah. And then that down, up, down, up, down. And but I digress.
Suzanne, what about you?
I felt like there was more attention to the minutia of the relationship of the characters at the beginning. In retrospect, just now, I was thinking it did feel like a cutscene in a movie. I don't know if it was intentional on the director's part that once they had killed all that, as far as like his family, like that style of storytelling was pretty much blown out of the movie as well. So I'm like, I don't know if that was an intentional thing or if that was just how it was interpreted by me as a viewer, but
that's a good point.
I thought the difference between that was pretty substantial.
Greg, what about you?
I didn't watch it the 7 minutes ahead of time, but knowing that it was out there, I had a feeling already that there was going to be a bit of a bait and switch. And so then when actually watching the movie and getting really into it, and also seeing that it was set in 1619, I already had the feeling that, okay, this whole thing's about to be really disjointed. They're really going to, try to make you look over here and then take it somewhere else. And that's unfortunately what ended up happening.
Ain, what did you think?
I felt betrayed. It's exactly what everybody said. I did not see the 7 minute leak because I honestly didn't know about it.
Oh wow!
But I saw other Mortal Kombat live action franchises, so I had lowered my expectations going in. But then when I saw that intro, I was like, oh, I was wrong. Like I'm actually pleasantly surprised. This is great. And then that was it. And you don't see Scorpion again for an hour and a half, and you're just like, okay, cool, great. Was that the movie? Great, awesome. So that was it.
Chris, I want to hear from you.
It was awesome and epic. Everything I could have ever wanted for like an opening of Mortal Kombat. Scorpion, Sub-Zero, they're just so important to the franchise. And yeah, I think they like really did their like story just so great. Like, that they're rivals and there's Sub-Zero ends up killing his family. And I totally like loved like the little thing that Scorpion does, how he takes the dagger and makes it into his spear. I thought it was great. Yeah, it was everything I wanted. And then he just got sidelined, and replaced by Cole Young. So quick. Even the fight clips throughout the rest of the movie are nothing like it was. The beginning of the movie really felt like it was like a martial arts. Like, oh, we're about to start seeing some real crazy stuff, like throwing a spear in someone's like head and like making them go on the ground. I was like, this is going to be so gory. This is going to be everything. And then like I was up there and then I just ended up declining, and we'll eventually get to that. But
yeah,
like the intro was dope.
Angela, I want to hear from you. This was your first time seeing anything Mortal Kombat.
I felt like it was almost elegant, the first scene in the movie. And then, it was, oh, okay, this is a video game movie, right? So my initial thought was like, oh, they're jumping in. They're jumping in with I recognize the fighting, right? Like, is this the tournament? Like, are they already fighting? Cool. And then it went into, Cole Young. I was like, wait, okay, shifting. Yeah.
What happened? Not just in the story points, but what do you feel happened to take us from here, maybe all the way down?
I got a little overwhelmed in the ensemble cast.
I think they should have just dropped Cole Young altogether. Look, let's just rewrite the whole movie right now. Keep the opening scene. Drop everything with Cole Young. Have the story center around the monks. There you go. Then you introduce a little side people. Let's kill off Sonya early. That way we don't have to deal with her in the future. Why we got to kill Kung Lao? Why not kill Liu Kang? Let's mix it up some. And then, yeah, maybe we could have got to a tournament, at least like the opening day. Like,
I feel you.
I had a conversation with my husband about it. It's honestly like they need a Kevin Feige to come in and say, instead of trying to do everybody's story in 30 seconds in one movie, let's back it out. I think the biggest complaint with a lot of the movies they've done is how do you take a 2-hour-long movie with 20 plus characters and throw them all in there together so that you care about any of them or the storyline with any of them.
I just feel like no one had true character development. Like, it was like, we show up and we're just gonna go with this. It's like, oh, okay, we're in a temple now. We just follow some random dude who keeps flicking his sash. Man, I'm not even gonna get it with Liu Kang every like 5 seconds. Like, he just do the little weird like.
Oh, you didn't like that? I liked it.
What did it add? Please tell me.
When he flicked his belt, it kind of had this air of being a little pompous, like, I know my stuff, you need to pay attention to me, but he still was in the shadow of Kung Lao, and Kung Lao definitely had a little bit more of that arrogance.
I mean, even when we meet everybody in Outworld, I'm like, who the fuck are these people? Like, there was just so much randomness.
Whose story would you have loved to have delved more into?
Honestly, I think for me, I just went in there with this expectation that I've always had with the games and with the movies from the 90s of Liu Kang is the chosen one. So I'm like, okay, like, that's nice. Like, this is this original character, but like, when are we going to move on to Liu Kang? When is he going to get like this whole like, oh, I'm the chosen one for Earth? And it's like, Cole was, to me, there was times he was like being the leader of the group. And I'm like, he is the least experienced. Like, Sonya has more information. Her and Jax have been following this for a very long time. And now it's like, he's the one giving orders. And I'm like, you're an original character. You don't belong here.
Well, I think I probably could have ended up liking the character Cole Young. I mean, he was new, was willing to give him a chance, but I don't know what they did. They just, like, his family was there. And I didn't even know in the beginning of the movie, it was so awkward because I didn't know who this girl was. I was like, she's too young to be his girlfriend. Or I was like, so who the fuck is she? Because he's also, like, young. He's young looking, too. So I'm like, is he, I was like, is he a father? I didn't even know. So we eventually saw that, like, he had a girlfriend. It's his daughter. But then they're just so quickly moved away from the story, you know.
Yeah.
Jax pulls over in the car, does like the Terminator thing, get in with me if you want to live, yada yada yada, and then it's like I don't even know where they go. I didn't even know their names. So Cole Young, I think I would have actually liked the character if I just saw more of his story expanded upon, developed. You know, I mean, of course, I could say Melina. I love her.
Oh yeah,
I could say
same.
Liu Kang. They could talk a little bit about him. But Cole Young's this new character, and he seems so important. He's like a descendant of Scorpion. I guess I would have just liked to have seen more of him.
I agree with Chris. Like, if you're going to introduce the character, at least take the time to introduce them. There were a lot of holes that didn't fill in for me until far too late into the movie for me. Honestly, Liu Kang has always been one of my favorite characters. Between him and Sonya, I have always just been, those were my people. And so when I got to meet both of them, I was, everything seemed rushed. It was just like, oh, okay, here's two people, cool. I was disinterested and disappointed at all the same time.
I've heard that they could introduce a new character that's not part of the games. I mean, like, I a little hesitated because Conquest. If you guys see more Kombat Conquest, they have like a lot of original characters, but some are descended from the original characters from the game. It's like I compared this character to Alice of Resident Evil. How she is, how they use the name of the game, but she's like the center of the movie. So they wanted to have that type of character in the Mortal Kombat movies universe. And we didn't get to know who he is. I mean, yes, he was a descendant of Scorpion console, but they didn't really explore. They didn't make him explore his backstory, like why I'm like this, why I'm having visions or stuff like that. And when everybody said they are champion with the tattoo, I'm thinking to myself, isn't everybody's champion?
Right, you have one champion. That's why you're a champion.
Yeah, like Liu Kang is a chosen one, right? Like to defend Earthrealm, to balance, the rounds. But since everybody is champion, so I'm guessing everybody is chosen. So I'm like, why did they have to kill them, but not everybody else? But I don't know. It's just a lot of questions, a lot of stuff that I don't get.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you hit the nail on the head. There was just so little character development. His family was thrown into there to make us care for him more.
I think Allie mentioned the old movies. They had this group of fighters that were all discovering the things that the audience were at the same time. Here, they chose to give most of the fighters prior knowledge of it, and then use a new character to bring the audience in. So yeah, I think you could have taken any other known character and done the same thing. You could have just really leaned on Kano as comic relief, going, "What is this? What is that? What is this?" Yeah, there were definitely other ways to do it.
I think like in the first movies, like Johnny Cage. I mean, Johnny Cage would be the person I would choose to replace Cole, right? Like he has no clue of anything in general, but he's learning what Mortal Kombat is. He's thrust into this world. He's like, I'm an actor, like what the hell am I doing here? And next thing you know, he kills Gore. Like it's been done, and it's been done well. And I know they were trying a different approach. Like this is another lens that they wanted to introduce in this movie, and I feel like if they had done it well, it could have gone well, but they did not. I feel like instead of focusing on really going in depth in this movie and explaining things, they spent too much time setting up for sequels, right? Like I feel like a lot of the character choices were fodder. Like they pick random characters that most people have never heard of, kill them off just so that you can introduce some of the bigger characters in the sequels. I think it's the same thing they're doing with Cole. Like, you don't really get to know much about him. Like, you don't know why he, was orphaned and anything like that. I think these are all ways that they're trying to, like, make more money. Like, frankly speaking, like they're just trying to start a whole new movie universe franchise, which I don't know how that's going to go.
Although I get like you said, Matthew, in your review, that Cole was there for the audience, I really think we could have done a lot without him, because it was like he was so time consuming in the storyline. Like we spent so much time figuring out him, and I don't want to know him for real. I want to know everybody else what they got going on. Thank you for bringing him on, having a little cameo. But where Katana ass at? Okay. We see her fan. You got her fan in the background, and you got Shinnok's
amulet. The Kano stole.
Like everybody else said, Johnny Cage should have been brought in because, like, I think Kane and a couple of the guys said that he was one of the reasons why I liked the old school 90s MK, because he didn't know what the hell. He was so stuck in himself because he was like, I'm a star, I'm here.
That's a very...
What the hell are y'all,
Yeah.
So we could have done with him. Yeah, we could have done with him.
So, Hayne was really touching on it as far as setting up for sequels and whatnot. I think it was all about budget. Like, I think that you bring a new character in so that you can have a lower paid actor playing him. If we'd had a Johnny Cage, like in the first film, I think that the guy that played Johnny Cage was one of the higher paid actors at that time, back in the 90s, in the film anyway, other than Raiden.
Oh yeah.
And so for this one, like even the poster at the end, right? Like you don't see his face. It's because they're setting up for a bigger budget and a more well-known actor for the sequel.
Who is the person with the most presence, and did the story do them justice?
Kano, the arrogant guy, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I felt like he was kind of relatable because he made references to Harry Potter and Magic Mike. I was like, okay, so him and I, we kind of live in the same universe. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. The other guys with the choom and the, like, I don't know who you are, and you're kind of like out of nowhere, this temple guy. So yeah, I really liked Kano. I thought he was really funny.
My knee-jerk answer would be Kano, because the actor delivered the lines very well. You felt like he had a very good idea of how that character would portray himself and carry himself. And I don't think he ever, and his character never really ever took me out of the story.
I think the most accurate representation of the video game character is probably Kung Lao. However, did they do them justice? I mean, it's certainly true to the Mortal Kombat reboot game in terms of what happened to him.
Yes.
But, I wish we could have seen more of him. But I think the entrance, the fight scenes, even the fatality, like, this is all, like, almost, exactly from the games. And I thought that was, and his whole, like, cocky attitude, which wasn't the original Kung Lao, I get that, but, like, in the newer reboot timeline, he's a lot more cocky. Like, that, I think, fits pretty well. And I think he was really well done. And, of course, dead.
I'm going to choose 3 that stand out.
Okay.
I agree with Hein. Kung Lao does look great the part. Doesn't have a lot of scenes, but he did well. Kano, as much it's confusing that Kano and Sonya are teaming up. His personality matched everything how he is from the 90s and even in the games currently. And then Cabal, I acknowledge that Cabal and Kano had history together, and I'm glad that they acknowledged that in the movie because they are both in the same clan. So those are my 3 standout in the movie.
I think that that's such a good point. I think that I forget that Cabal and Kano, I mean, I saw it in the film, but I think that's also another opportunity where they could have delved more. They mentioned, like, this is the reason I'm in this ventilator, but I wasn't. Why?
For me, it was either Kung Lao hopping in, like, after, like, I don't know, the movie was kind of hitting a little dull point, and then, like, that hat just popping in and him hopping out of it.
Yes.
Was, like, really amazing.
They nailed his teleportation from the games. That was so spot on.
Yeah, that was really cool. And then I liked Kano a lot. He was, though, like, as much as I did like him, it was like maybe 2 or 3 minutes too much. They could have did a little more cutting on him and, like, focus on some other folks.
I think that when it comes to the subject of Kano, when I looked back on it, he was described as, he even said it himself, I'm wanted in however many countries for things you couldn't even imagine. And yet the only on-screen kill that Kano got was a CGI reptilian creature named Syzoth.
That was actually pretty accurate. That is Reptile's name in the actual games.
Yeah.
So that I appreciated. So that is Reptile.
Now, see, that's what makes me a level 4.
Kano, for comic relief, I never really found him funny in the old films. Like, I always more focused on the rivalry between him and Sonya. And I wish that I would have got a little more of that. To me, it came off as very, like, tension of, like, I don't know if I want to kill you or date you. Like, I'm a little confused on this one. But I personally thought the guy did a fantastic job. He did a very good unexpected job that I wasn't looking for. And so, like, I really enjoyed that in the film.
I think for me, I'm gonna split it up into, I got my favorite from hero side and favorite from the villain side. So
okay. Ooh,
definitely from the villain side, Sub-Zero stole the show for me because it gave me chills. Like, I was like, damn, like, this man is playing this part. I think you mentioned in your review, Matthew, when he looked at the son and just looked at him after he said, you learned that from your father. And I was like, oh, he's meant to kill these people. Like, why, Lord, why? On the hero side, I do agree with everybody. I think Hang, you mentioned Kung Lao. Yeah.
Yeah, I go back and forth. I'm sorry. I don't even know.
It's
either.
okay. No, you're good. I think Kung Lao stood out for me too because that entrance was so cool. I was like watching the first time with my roommates, like, oh my God, did you see that shit? But
yes.
But and I know nobody probably won't agree, but I'm such a heart for. I play Sonya all the time in the video games. No shame, but
that's
seeing her.
There should be
seeing her in this movie. I mean, I like that actress. She did a good job in my opinion. But the part what they gave her, they could have done a lot better. But for me, she did her. You know, she did her best. Something. You know, and I like Jax too, not because he's fine as hell. But anyway. I digress.
Sonya was my favorite character. I used to go home and beat the first game every day after school before football practice. That was my religious thing every day, 3rd and 4th grade, just saying.
I love that.
It felt like whoever wrote her dialogue, not the actress did what she did with the material, but like it felt like what they gave her was very canned. So like I couldn't connect with her, and I wanted to. I was always rooting for Sonya.
I would say Sub-Zero. He was awesome. Just seeing him on camera. The beginning was dope. I loved the fight scene between Jax, even though I didn't really like the way it led up with Jax just deciding to go run after Sub-Zero. I'm like, come on, like you have a gun. I think just like whenever Sub-Zero was like on camera, he just like looked great.
I have not seen Joe Taslim films. I will be watching Joe Taslim films after this.
I just wanted to say Joe Taslim is from the Raid movies, if you never seen, guys, and they are like some of the best mixed martial arts films like I've ever seen.
Okay.
So it's just really cool that he went into this film.
Well, first one, Scorpion, absolutely love Hiroyuki Sanada. He does great in everything, but I feel like he was underused, and I don't know if that's because of like budget or his age. I have nothing against like, I love everybody and I don't have anything against age, but I know that he was saying in like one interview, this is the most physical work he has done in like the last 20 years. And I'm just like, you see the scenes and him fighting against Joe Taslim. It's like, this is very high intense training. I wish that I could have gotten more, but given the factors and the circumstances of real life, I understand why he wasn't used more, but I still wanted more for my own selfish reasons. Joe Taslim killed it as Sub-Zero. I can't see anybody else honestly being Sub-Zero after this performance. Not Sub-Zero. I know he's got to be Noob Saibot, but it's just like, whoever's going to be the new Sub-Zero, you got to bring it because Joe has put the standard up here, and that's going to be very high.
Yeah.
Very high. And then, of course, Kung Lao, the whole entrance, the CGI effects, like everything, the fatality, the flawless victory thing. I can't see anybody else.
Quinn, what about you? Who do you feel really stole the show?
Honestly, I think it was Kung Lao. Only because he was the only person that I felt had a character development. Like, he gave me all different elements. He gave me comedy. He gave me, like, heartfelt, sort of, like, warm vibes. Like, every scene that he was in, I felt he played a big part in.
I was, like, also thinking about just the whole Arcana thing, which we could, like, get to. Like, how many powers does it really give, like, once somebody gets it? And why is it that, like, it just, like, transfers onto someone when, like, they kill them? I don't know. If somebody's really the chosen person, like...
It wouldn't be so randomized.
They be born with it? I don't know. It just the whole, like, crest thing, I don't know. I'm calling some shit on that.
It reminded me of, like, Harry Potter. Like, you take, like, if you disarm them, you have control of their wand.
Oh...
this Arcana thing, it was annoying because like you can kill someone and it'll transfer to you, but then you have to activate it. So there's like a second step. Like, bitch, I just killed someone.
Yeah.
Level more to activate it.
Like, I really didn't like that whole like, oh, you kill somebody, you get like you're the chosen
what
one.
was that?
Yes.
I also didn't like the randomized placement of it. Like, I would hate that all of a sudden this, like, little dragon thing on my neck. I'd be like, do you know how hard it is to have a job and now I've got to save Earthrealm with this damn neck thing? There was so much missing with that whole Arcana story that could have made me care a little bit more. And at the end of the day, if Outworlders don't need an Arcana to have a power, and I'm supposed to assume that there is this universe where an Outworld can exist and there's these other creatures out there, then why do we even need the Arcana storyline to begin with? I can just imagine Sonya has these little energy rings. I can see that Sub-Zero has ice. We don't need to understand why. I want to know these characters. Their powers will show me who they are.
In the games, they explained the lore perfectly. Earthrealmers were more into the technology. That was their thing. Like, Sonya's purple rings are like a wrist-mounted thing. And Outworlders are more into magic, and that's how they have their powers. That's, like, perfectly explained in the games. So this whole thing about Arcana, this whole inheritance pattern, you know, tattoo retrieval thing was just, like, so odd. Like, what the heck? The fact that it is so inconsistent, right? Like, Cole is here, born with this Arcana, fighting his ass off, getting his ass kicked like multiple times by multiple people, not awakening anything. And meanwhile, Sonya's like, no me stab, and then bloop, you know, I got my rings. Like,
Matthew and I had a conversation about this before, and so the reason that I think that was done intentionally, and I think it was a good choice, is because for me, Sonya was set up as the true center of the movie, right? Like the whole bit, you know, it was an ongoing gag that she wasn't worthy, and yet you kept seeing her be worthy, right? Like she kept checking Kano, she kept the team moving, like she was organizing stuff. And so at the end, when she finally gets her tattoo or whatever it is, right? Like she's instantly there. So for me, that made total sense because she was already there. She just needed verification, I guess.
So I want to know from all of you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this film? And in a sequel, who do you have to see?
I'd give it a 6. I would say 6 because I watched the original movies, and I enjoyed those a lot. And so to see it from a modern era, so like the filming techniques, the costumes, all of that was just mind-blowing to me. So I was very excited by that. It didn't quite reach what I wanted for story, because I don't know. I feel like there wasn't really one. I do see the potential for a sequel because there better be one, because we talked about this tournament the whole time. That never happened. So I feel that like this was basically a prequel to like a beefier movie. So I give it a 6 because of that. So I liked it, but it failed in some places for me.
Suzanne, what about you?
I want to give it about a 6.5.
Okay.
Because while I feel that there was huge challenges in putting such a huge epic storyline together in such a limited amount of time, they really did do, I think, as good as they could job of throwing all that in together. I just don't think that should have been the approach to the whole movie universe. I think they need to, again, I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like a Feige fan, but I'd like them to take a step back and focus kind of like Marvel did and flesh the universe out so that we can care about each character, you know, and then give us some Mortal Kombat like you gave us Avengers. But I realize it's a little bit random, but to me, one of the people who's not even a fighter, who I want to know more about, who I'd like to see a sequel on, is the daughter.
Cole's daughter?
Yes.
Really?
Cole's daughter.
Why?
Because to me, it feels like she had a much deeper intuition of what was going on. She had a much smarter sense about her as far as what should be going on in the cage. She's telling him, which I thought was a little cheesy, you know, the uppercut, which we all know was his big kaboom.
His big kaboom. That's his Arcana.
To me, she seemed one of the more interesting throwaway characters in the movie.
So as far as a score, I say a 6. it fell into the trap that so many video game adaptations do, where they get some of the elements right, but in order to avoid completely rehashing the story that we've already seen, like played out really well in CGI in the games,
Right.
to avoid that, they completely just bombed the plot. Like they just basically they had a story that got you from A to B, and then they tried to fit Mortal Kombat elements into that, and that's not what I think the fans were looking for. And since it ended up being a not great movie, it's not going to appeal to general audiences either.
Do you see sequel potential?
Apparently it did well in theaters, pandemic wise. And so I think the sequel's going to happen if they get a bigger budget and if they actually focus more on story this time than just bringing people to the franchise. Then as far as like must-have characters in a sequel, again, they already messed up Melina, so if they don't bring Katana into the second one, then it's just, what's the point?
Fair enough.
I would give this a 5. There was barely a lot of action in this movie. Like, we know Mortal Kombat is all about martial arts and kung fu. Like I felt like Kill Bill could be like a Mortal Kombat movie than this movie. Not enough gore, not enough fatalities. The acting was, even paper drive, most of it. Let's just see what they're gonna do with the sequel. Especially like it's supposed to take place in the tournaments, but I just hope they do the sequel right.
It's fine. It's like a 5 to 7. I'll let y'all decide, but that's my range. It was just so short. It felt like before anything happened, it was over. So I just felt like you're not going to be able to do that massive amount of storytelling in such a little bit of time.
Okay, Chris, Uber fan, how do you rate it?
Well, I have been just giving it a 6 because I feel like anything below a 6 is like failing. And I don't want to say the movie is a complete failure. There is moments where it's like, that was Mortal Kombat. But then a lot of it was just, it felt rushed. And then a lot of the fighting was just not done the way I think it should have been, I guess. Like, it just felt very like glitchy and cropped. Somebody would be here, then they're there. And the setting was boring. Like, there was no cool locations that they went to. Like, look, I just watched both original, like the 95, the 97, like about a week ago. And don't want to compare and contrast, but they do such a better job in the 95, taking you on a journey and like on an adventure, character development, even the music with like the monks where it's like, oh, like, you know what I mean? Like when they do that, I don't know. And just certain scenes, like it's just great. The opening, the ending, the Kung Lao, the Jack's head clap. If you add all that together, what does that give you? Maybe a half hour, maybe 20, 25, like somewhere around there. That's all the action for this movie. Are you kidding? I mean, for it to be Mortal Kombat, it should have been brutal all the way through.
Storm, what do you think?
Okay, so I know I put it under your comment on your YouTube. I did put a 8.5 originally.
Yeah, I know.
Because I didn't watch it.
Generous.
I watched it that one time, but then I went back and watched it at least 2 more times after that review. And I said, now I'm seeing a lot more shit that I think the wine probably did it to me when I watched it the first time. They got my expectations to like, oh yeah, oh shit, that's awesome. So I blame it on the wine, but so I kind of dropped it down to. I'll give it a 7.9, and the reason why I said it's because it was one of my highly expected blockbuster movies because I've been waiting for this movie since. They were supposed to release it last year, I thought at some point, but then of course pandemic happened. They put it to this year, being that they did give me that blockbuster feel. So I said, okay, I'll give you that. And a little energy vibe. So that's why I dropped it down to like a 7.9. As far as who I'm looking for to be in the sequel, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be one, because you better not leave us with this Johnny Cage poster and be like, well, we thought we were going to do a sequel, but sorry. I'm looking for, they better have Katana and they better bring CC Stringer back, because, I mean, she did not get the opportunity to shine a lot like she had in those 3 lines. She needs some more time.
I thought that there was also going to be more context. Casting Sissy Stringer to play Melina being black, I thought that there was going to be maybe the Tarkatans are black, or maybe this is a black Katana, black Sindel, or King Jared, or I thought, go there, take me there, make it make sense. I do think that the 3 lines that she did, I loved the vocals. I thought her mannerisms were good. I didn't mind that they saved her teeth for the end. But if you didn't know who she was, did you care? It saddens me to think that that was an executive decision to ensure, because I think similar to a Johnny Cage character, who else would they cast a high-list, A-list female actress in a role of? I think Katana would be the shoe-in. And I think that that's devastating, because I really would have liked to have seen Sissy either play multiple Melinas and go down the clone route if you're not going to do the sister. But if you were going to do the sister route, this was the movie to introduce that. If she's brought back in the next film, I want to see her, but I want to see her as Katana, but it won't make sense because she wasn't set up that way.
If Sissy Stringer doesn't come back for a sequel, then it was obviously like stunt casting to put a black actress in that role, and that's just really frustrating. Like they did it and they got, some publicity off of it, and then just to kill her off after 3 lines. Like, that's not cool.
We need a petition for Sissy. I get it. She's not a main. You're building onto something here. I figured she was going to die. But give us a good reason.
Along with you guys, I would love to see Sissy Stringer, because I think for honestly, for 3 lines in an entire movie, I think she brought it, especially going up against all of the things that she had to deal with. Like, oh, you're not the right color, all this, oh, Melina this, like, homegirl came in here, not a pink, not a purple ounce in sight, but we still like, cool, we know who that is, no problem.
Hayne, what about you?
I'm going to give it a solid 6.
Okay.
Because, visually, there were some good scenes. Some of the backgrounds were beautiful. Some of the, even some of the costumes were decent. Like, they weren't, great, but they were definitely not bad.
Oh, you didn't like them? I loved the costumes.
No, I did. I'm saying they were great. Like, they were.
Oh, I thought you said they were okay.
No,
okay, good. I'm glad I asked. I was like,
expecting
really?
them to be trash, but they were great. So I'm saying they're okay, except Cole's. That was weird. And there's a part where the suit had a thing that was sticking out in the back.
I noticed that too. I go, how when you're editing do you not see it's not attached?
Yes, exactly. Yes. It's literally a t-shirt. It's a t-shirt.
Let me edit your films. I will watch it to a T.
It doesn't have the grit of a Mortal Kombat movie. It doesn't have the lore of the Mortal Kombat franchise. So, while I definitely enjoyed it for what it is, and back to Storm, I also had a little help from my friend Wine. So I did enjoy it. When I watched it, I definitely enjoyed it. Did I like it? Not so much. So I'll give it a solid 6. For who's going to be in the next movie, I'm going to rep my girl Katana.
Of course.
I wouldn't hate it if Sindel was in there too, because she's so, this whole iconic Scream Queen.
Rating this movie is a little bit hard for me. 1 to 10, I think 5 is, average. So this was a little below average, but it wasn't terrible. It was just another video game movie. So I would give it a 4.5. It wasn't terrible. It was just
sounds pretty terrible.
Slightly below average. But I love the experience. I appreciate and I love the culture aspect of it. Just what it means for a lot of people. I can really appreciate that, and I love that. I did feel like the writers kind of had a choice between Mortal Kombat gore and character development, and they kind of failed at both.
I really went into this thinking this is going to be banging. We are going to be so happy with the representation. And it's so sad.
Would it be horrible to have Ed Boon as part of something for the movie? Like, you know, for the story, for the production, like something. Or even a cameo, like.
All right, Allie, what about you? How do you rate this film and who's in the sequel?
Oh, God. I wanted to give it an 8, but I'm honestly between like a 6.7 and a 7.9. I know that's like a weird range, but like when I first saw it, it was like 7.9. I loved it, even though I want to love it more. But then like when I watched it the third time, like I finally broke down and got HBO Max just so I could watch the movie over again. And I was just like, wait, so I'm like off doing my laundry, like folding my clothes, doing my stuff. And I was like, okay, the important part's coming up. Got it. All right, back to folding my laundry. And I'm like, I should not feel this way ever when I've waited for this film for 20 something years. I wanted to feel more. So like, I got to downgrade it to like the 6.7, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't feel that this film brought the best martial arts in cinematography. I don't feel that they nailed it when it came to the fatalities of Mortal Kombat. They didn't develop the characters strong enough. Not enough gore. Like, enough F-bombs, especially in front of your 12-year-old daughter.
Right.
This should have been Mortal Kombat Volume 1. This should have had a whole Kill Bill thing, and they took their time. That was a long-ass movie. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, they didn't have as many characters as this one did, but again, you didn't have to add one to add anything. You could have taken from any Mortal Kombat character that already existed. And two, who says you had to have that many to begin with?
Right.
We were happy with the first representation. Yeah. You know, we saw a lot of the mains, and I think if you're thinking of Mortal Kombat 1 and 2... maybe that's a good blend. We don't need 3, 4, Armageddon, and Shaolin. Well, I didn't mind Shaolin monks. Let me take that back.
Shaolin monks is good. Yeah.
Like Natara, Reiko. It's fine, but like if you're not going to explain who they are, I don't care.
They bring Natara in. She's obviously this, vampire-esque character. She's beautiful, seductive. Well, she is. She looks great.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a single line. Okay, cool.
Oh, well, no, she screeches.
Okay, yeah, those are words, I guess. Okay, cool.
Can you imagine going into the audition of that? It's like introducing Natara, screech. Hi, I'm here to play for the role of Natara. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Poor Mel Johnson.
Anyway. So all right. So vampire. Her whole thing is about the vampire-esque person with bat wings, like blood sucking, all of that, right? Melina's whole thing about licking Sonya's blood and saying this is not the blood of a champion, that should have been Natara. Blood is her thing. Hello. Like, come on.
Oh.
Good point.
That is a very good point. Oh, God. There were so many boo-boos.
And one more thing. When Scorpion comes back to, like, the ring, someone pointed it out. Well, doesn't Scorpion speak Japanese, right? So why did he just go, get over here? Like... in English. Like, why would he do that and then he goes back to speaking Japanese?
To a character who is a descendant of him, and he's speaking to him in all Japanese, and this character not at one point has spoken Japanese. You know what would have been cool and a complete... I don't think fans would have loved it, but now that you brought it up, I would have loved if Scorpion said get over here in Japanese, and we got the subtitle in all caps.
And then subtitles underneath. Yes.
You guys have been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me on this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I so thank you for all of your feedback. And let's see if any of the movie makers who made this film watch this and make some significant changes to make us want to see the sequel.
It was nice to meet everyone.
Nice meeting you guys.
Thank you for hanging around this episode of Fangirl Fridays. If you made it all the way to here, please give this video a thumbs up. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on the Mortal Kombat 2021 movie. Who stole the show? Who do you want more of? And who has got to be in the sequel? Until next time, make good choices. Bye, girl, bye. Oh, I meant bye, y'all, bye. Oh, I meant bye, y'all, bye. See, it's old habits die hard. Let's take a moment. Not everybody identifies as girl.
Like I or me.
Bye, y'all, bye.